and welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here. And then it's just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And welcome to John Carpenter's The Ward. Girl, you really should have just stayed a scream queen, you know? You're really good at it. May not have got your ass in so much trouble if you'd have just stuck with horror. So this is John Carpenter's The Ward. It was released in 2010. It was directed by John Carpenter. It was written by Mika Rasmussen and Shawn Rasmussen, and it stars Amber Heard, Mamie and Danielle Panabaker. Yes, it was. Now, this movie opens at the North Bend Psychiatric Hospital, where we see some kind of entity, something, ghost, demon, whatever, kills a patient named Tammy. And then we are given the opening credits, where we are in North Bend in 1966, and we are introduced to Kristen. Kristen is being chased by the cops, saying that she is a missing person, where she burns down this big farmhouse after she gets to it. The cops get her and take her to the ward, where she is admitted. She's put into Tammy's room. The girl who had been killed, they erase her name and put Kristen in it. And she's introduced to Dr. Stringer. Dr. Stringer. She asked them, who came in to the room that night, because she's already being haunted by something. They said no one. We are then introduced to the other, she's shown the rec room. She's introduced to the other patients. There is Emily, Sarah, Zoe, and Iris. And we then see her first interview with Stringer, where she wants to know why she's there, what has she done. She hadn't done anything. He wants, of course, to know what you were doing burning down this farm, and why she had the address of the farm on her hand. Well, what was that? So, he's got his own questions for her. Later on that night, she tries to escape, but gets caught. Girl tries to escape a lot in this movie. She sees more visions. She sees this, and it's a demon. So she sees this demon at her door. She talks to the other girls, gets to know them. They sort of become relatively friendly, except for one of them. All of the girls are very different behaving. She keeps seeing this visions of this entity. As time goes by, the power goes out one time and she can see flashes of it everywhere. The nurse leaves them alone. She's snooping around the office, trying to find out what the hell's going on, because she doesn't even know why she's there. I mean, and you think the same thing. It's okay, well, she was missing, and she was caught burning down a house, but isn't that a crime? Shouldn't you be in jail, not a mental institution? If you go and burn down a house, they're not going to put you in a mental institution unless you were dancing around naked or something, or telling them that God told you to do it, which she didn't do any of that. So it's why wasn't she just taken to jail? Why is she in a psych ward? Of course, I know the answer to these questions, and you'll just have to play along until I tell you. So, We have the shower scene where she once again, she's grabbed like really hard this time she actually gets attacked by this demon female. It's like it's good effects. It's a creepy looking female demon. They have group therapy. Well, when she does that, she gets punished, because they like come in, she's screaming. They come in and it's like, she's like, somebody was here, they attacked me. Well, that got her a nice dose of sedation and a fucking shock treatment. I'm like, okay, that seemed a little overly. But she gets like electrocuted with electroshock therapy just for having a meltdown in the shower. But so they have group therapy where they mention Tammy, the girl that we saw killed at the beginning. She wants to know about her, what this was, who this person was. Then we get to see Iris, who announces that she's going to be released, that she's finally well and she's going to be released. She goes and has her final interview with the doctor, who says that yes, they'll probably be releasing her. Next thing you know, though, he hypnotizes her to check things out, and he tells the orderly, that she's asleep in the office to go put her back in her room, and she's gone. At which point we get to see a very gross and gory murder where she has been taken by this entity down into some basement-like place and basically skewered through the skull by a big lobotomy needle. It's it's pretty graphic. So they all start, of course, wondering, where she is. Chris keeps having nightmares about being chained up in a basement, but she's like a little girl. And so this has been a recurring dream that she keeps having. So when Iris has disappeared, they all assume that she did get released, like she said she was going to get released. Now, Kristen doesn't really believe it because her sketchbook is still there. And she's like thumbing through it, and she actually sees, a drawing of that demon. And it says Alice Hudson on it. Because she sees drawings of all of them where the girl had sketched them, and she's got their names on it, but this one said Alice Hudson. So, she asked the doctor about Alice and the disappearances. Where the fuck is Iris? And who was this Alice person? She tells him that there's a ghost there, and she asks the other girls about Alice, but they don't really want to talk about it. So, Emily tells her that, she must have gotten out. And Chris says that she will get out too. Kristen says, well, I'm going to get out too. They plan an escape. Her and Emily go through the vents. The nurse knows and comes looking. They make it to the morgue where Kristen hides in a closet and Emily under the desk, but she's gone. When the orderlies come around, that's the hint I missed right there. Just telling you, because when this movie was over, I kept thinking, did I miss any hints? Because I did not see the ending coming of this movie, and so I really tried to think very hard about whether or not there was any hints, because John Carpenter was just fantastic at not giving any, and I thought, well, that could have been a hint. Because when she comes out of the closet, Emily's gone. And she goes upstairs, she gets caught again, she's put back in her room. And Emily shows back up, and Kristen asks her, well, what happened to you? Where'd you go? And she said, well, those orderlies, when they came in, they caught me. And you're like, oh, that's true. Because that is true. The orderlies did come in. They just didn't find it. But then again, I didn't hear any noise with her finding them or anything. So I'm not really sure. She talks to the girls again about what has happened, and Emily ends up seeing Alice in the hallway, because now we know this demon is called Alice. She ends up seeing her, and bim bam boom, she is disappeared. She's taken, and we get to watch her being horrifically electrocuted to death on the electroshock therapy machine, where this demon electrocutes Emily to death, which also was pretty damn graphic. So now Emily's missing, and she really, goes out of her way to get these girls to tell her who the hell Alice was, what happened to her, why this Alice person is obviously trying to kill them, or whatever. And they end up telling her that they suffocated her. So these girls, they had suffocated this Alice girl because she was like a mean bully, and she hurt them all the time and stuff. So they decided to put an end to her terror by killing her ass. And they tricked her into going into one of their rooms where they attacked and suffocated her. So that's what, now we know what happened to Alice, and obviously why this demon is after them. So once it's all out in the open, Emily threatens to kill herself in the bathroom. And Zoe and Kristen, these are the only three that's left, they try to stop her, but the demon appears behind her and takes it off of her wrist and cuts her throat with her own hand. So the demon kills her too. Kristen and Zoe come up with this fake hostage plan to make the nurse open the door. So Zoe pretends to be Kristen's hostage with out of throat. And they do manage to get out. The nurse opens the door, but they're all caught again. Both of them are caught again. And Kristen is once again thrown into a room, only this time in a straitjacket, and forced pills. But of course she doesn't. She manages to sneak, not taking the pills. Gets out of the straitjacket, KOs the nurse and the orderly, and then they escape again. She grabs them and Zoe and her go on the run again, trying to get out of this psychiatric facility. Alice is after them. They're both seeing her all the time now. They end up having, a big fight with Alice. They manage to elude the staff. They get down into the basement and use the freight elevator. And Zoe goes up it, and then Kristen goes up it, and interestingly enough, it comes out in Dr. Stringer's office. But Zoe is nowhere. That's when we get to see Kristen have a big giant boss battle fight with Alice, whom she had already hit in the chest with an axe. And you thought that she had killed this demon, and you kind of thought, wait a second, you don't kill a demon like that. Demons don't die. So when they ended up having the boss fight in the doctor's office, it wasn't a surprise when Alice showed back up. I'm like, I knew that axe didn't kill that bitch. So while she was in the office, she reads a bunch of Dr. Stringer's notes. And this, of course, was your first acknowledgement that something was going on, because you saw a list of all the girls' names, and it had personality by each one and how different they were. And she ends up, the doctor comes in she ends up getting a piece of glass and holding it to his throat, like, you are at this moment going to tell me what the fuck is going on. So he does. And that's the twist, because he tells her that she's Alice, that her name is Alice May, I believe was the middle name, Alice May Hudson, and that she was kidnapped in 1958 as a little girl, 11 years old, that she was held hostage and brutally assaulted and tortured for 2 full months before she was found, almost starved to death, brutalized, and that she was put in this psych ward, and the only way that she had survived that 2 months imprisonment was in her mind. So her mind had fractured into multiple personalities to deal with the trauma that she was going through. And that these delusions, these personalities, was what he had been working on all these years since they found her. So 58 to 66. So what is that? 10 years or 8 years that he had been working on her with this multiple personality to isolate and eliminate these personalities so that she could be Alice again. Now, right after that big fight with Alice ensues, her and Alice both go out the window. Alice grabs her, Kristen, and throws her out the window. Now, this is after you just heard this story. And when the doctor looks down, there's only Alice in non-demonic form laying on the ground. So we then meet the parents, and we see Alice in bed, and she remembers now everything. So that's when we realize the twist of this story. So this whole movie, none of these girls are real. The only real one was the demon. These were her multiple personalities that she, through the doctor's help, getting stronger and stronger, she was killing off these personalities to be herself again. So she's ready for discharge. She remembers everything now. She's going to be well now. She's ready for discharge. She's gathering up all of her stuff in the room. She goes into the bathroom and she opens up the medicine cabinet. And when she does, Kristen jumps out and screams and attacks her, and the movie ends. So, really great ending. I didn't see it coming. And like I said, I kept thinking, or after the movie was over, I was like, man, John Carpenter is good, because I did not see it coming at all. And I started like going back over the movie in my head. Like, okay, I had to have missed some hints. But I really couldn't find many at all. The only one I'm actually sure of is, and it was very, very well camouflaged, and that was when Kristen and Emily had escaped, made that escape attempt, and they had went down in the morgue, and she hid in the closet, and Emily hid under the desk. The orderlies came through, and when they left, Kristen came out, but Emily was gone. Well, she later told her that the orderlies had found her, but we didn't hear the orderlies find her. And now we know Emily didn't exist. But then again, neither did Kristen. So, Yeah. So I guess that was kind of a hint. But I don't see any other hints in the movie. And of course, if you haven't saw it, it's just all spoiled to shit now. But then again, you know that coming to my channel. But I couldn't find any hints. I really can't see any hints. Because even if you said, well, that explains how she escaped as Kristen and went and burned that barn down, and obviously she had snooped around in the office before and had found the address of where this took place, escaped, and went and burnt the farm down as Kristen. But there would be no way for you to really know until after the ending that could have been a hint. But a hint to what? You don't know that that's why she did that until the movie ends and you understand it all. So I think that was very good. I really highly enjoyed this. As you know, this is only a couple of years after Mandy Lane. So Amber still looks like Mandy Lane. And this was before all the shit. That's what I'm saying. Amber. I do want to see her new movie. She's got a new movie coming out called In the Fire or Into the Fire. And it's a horror movie. And it's like where she gets called to some foreign land where there's this kid that's exhibiting all of these, well, like the scientists say he's got some kind of super abilities, but the religious is saying he's like demon possessed, and she goes down there, I guess, to try to figure out which one. And it looks real cool, and that's what I've said. She came out as a little horror queen. She made a couple of horror movies, and then she went and tried to do all that hoity-toity fancy stuff, then made the worst mistake in Johnny Depp's life. When he met her and she met him, this was not a couple of people that needed to meet each other. And she did all of that stuff, and, well, I'm just saying you should have just stayed a scream queen. I don't know why people, don't think. I mean, you can do your little stuff on the side, but stay a scream queen. That's what, come on. Mandy Lane was Amber Heard. That's why she was so good in it. She was playing herself. Amber Heard is just made to be a scream queen, in my opinion. So, we would take you. We will accept you. Just come back and do a bunch of horror. Nobody else will have you now, right? You're left with us, and we'll accept you. But, yeah. So, that's John Carpenter's The Ward. I think he filmed it absolutely wonderful. You can see all kind of John Carpenter touches. The way he filmed everything, the atmosphere, that wonderful twist, which I did not see coming, and his ability to make it all make sense without leaving you any hints that that's what was going on. It was a great movie. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Love you, miss you. Bye-bye. Always remember and never forget, you're a very, very special person. If you haven't seen The Ward, you really should. And it's a great John Carpenter film. And I will see you in the next thing I do. And yeah. Even if you are not a psycho locked up in a psych ward with multiple personalities, you are a very special person. Support indie horror, support physical media, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.